going on, everybody? Elliot here from MovieFiles to talk about, yep, you see the title there. We are discussing Nope, the new Jordan Peele sci-fi horror spectacle like no other. And I am not by myself, and I don't think we're by ourselves in this world because there might be some UFOs that we'll be discussing tonight. But very excited to be here with you all. This is a pre-recorded discussion with myself and two amazing guests that I'm going to bring in here in a second. And I definitely want you all to follow them once they get on the screen, subscribe, all that good stuff. But before we get into the discussion, if you can, give the video a thumbs up, share the video, and more importantly, I want to know your thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. Again, I'm going to drop this video when the film's released, so hopefully you've seen the film by now because we will be spoiling it. But I want to know your pros, your cons, the deeper meanings and themes and things you enjoyed and didn't enjoy about the film, your thoughts on the ending and everything in between. Leave your thoughts in the comments. With all of that being said, I am so excited to bring in these two guests because we've talked Marvel, we've talked Star Wars before, we talked some DC stuff, but we've really never dove into the horror genre, which is personally my favorite. So I'm really excited to talk horror with these two gentlemen. I'm gonna bring in the first one here, and it's been a minute since he's been on the channel, but he has been crushing it, doing his thing, not only on his platforms, on YouTube, on his social media accounts, as well as on his, he has his own website. He's just killing it, man. And I'm so excited to have him on. I'm talking about the one and only Griffin from Film Speak. How we doing, my friend?
Dude, it's great to be back. It has been far too long, and I'm excited to discuss this really juicy film. Spoiler alert, but I loved it. So
okay, yeah, we're gonna get into it, Griff, man. Again, it's so exciting to have you here, man. Again, yeah. I think we've talked. You know, I want to take that, retract my last statement. We've talked horror before because we covered Lovecraft Country on your channel, which
you're right.
I'll never forgive you for not bringing that show back, but hopefully we'll figure it out. But this is the first time we talked of like a horror film and like a long, form discussion. So I'm really excited to kind of get your take on this horror and Jordan Peele and obviously dive into what you love about the film. But before we do so and bring in our other guest, Griff, why don't you introduce, I'm sure everyone knows you, but just in case they just created a Google account and they just found online today, who is Griffin and what is Film Speak all about, man?
Yeah, so I run the Film Speak channel just over on YouTube, where we do a lot of video essays diving deep into some of the biggest pop culture things going on, or blockbusters or whatever, even like some indie films and all sorts of stuff. Cover all thing film over on the YouTube channel in a more like analytical way. And then obviously we have a website, as Elliot alluded to, filmspeak.net, where like myself and a bunch of other really talented writers are like constantly conducting interviews, putting out reviews, television recaps, editorials, all that good stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, you can head on over to the Film Speak YouTube channel, or you can check out the Film Speak website, which is just filmspeak.net.
Listen, you heard him. Check them out, guys. It is not just insightful information, but it's fun. It's very deep dive into these stuff we love, movies, shows, everything in between. And this guy, his personality and the wits and the jokes and the knowledge he drops again is phenomenal. It's second to none. So definitely check out Griffin's information. Will be in the description of this video. So the next gentleman here, we talk Marvel, we talk DC. And he has a mantra that he goes by. He's going to probably let you all know about in regards to what he likes in his content. So this is the first time we can get into that stuff that he likes on the more horror, bloody side of things. And I'm so excited to pick his brain on this film and really dive into it. I'm talking about the one and only Michael from Blackgate Comic Geek. What's happening, man?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Elliot, once again, thank you for having me on the show. And I'm excited because, the way I found you was through Griffin. And, so the fact that, fans of both of you guys, and now I get to be on with you guys again. It's the second time that I've been on with Griffin. So I'm excited. And, for those of you that obviously this movie, this review is going to drop when the movie comes out. You see, you got my little Kiki Palmer
decked out.
Yes.
The shirt that I got from the premiere. So
I got a little. They gave me a pin.
I got a pin too. So, but
man,
sorry, hold on. Poster.
I got the poster too. They gave us Nope design cupcakes.
Yeah.
But I ate those, so I can't show those off.
Man, what premieres were you guys going to? I didn't get anything. I just got, a ticket and told to go into a theater. That was it. There was nothing.
Man, you're in Hollywood, Griff. You see the celebrities, you're bumping elbows with celebrities, man. They're like, you guys just enjoy the film.
They're just like, fuck you. Go see the movie.
That's how I was. That's how I was the second time. It was just like, go. Go to the
There
movie.
you go.
Oh,
There
you
go.
got the special Monday screening.
Yeah, I
That's
got the
right.
Monday
That's what it
screening,
was.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense now.
Very cool, very cool. But Mike, man, like I did with Griff, man, just in case people aren't too familiar with your content, where they can find you, why don't you let them know, man?
But yeah, with that said, like I'm not like these two guys. Like I'm trying to be like these two guys when I get older, when I grow up. They're more professionals. They review all the movies, Oscar movies or whatever. But me, I'm more of a basic bitch. I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic. So I like to stay in the sci-fi fantasy genre. I like to talk about comic books, superheroes, video games, action movies, horror movies, because that's where my nerddom started. And I like to talk about, if you couldn't tell from the name, Black Gay Comic Geek, I like to talk about Black representation and queer representation. It's something I always say at the beginning of my channel is welcome to my safe haven, because I want to create a space for queer nerds, specifically Black queer nerds in this movie review nerddom space. So if that's something that you are interested in, come pull up. Like I met you with the blood sex go. I even got some fake blood right here because I had a little video that I had to do, sponsorship that I had to do with Netflix. So yeah, come pull up and check me out.
Definitely do it, man. And again, it's sci-fi, horror. He covers, comedy. He covers the DC, Marvel, and everything in between. And also the TikToks on a daily basis are so great. Again, I'm so excited to have you both on and really dive deep into this film. So kind of, a little icebreaker here for Griff and Mike. Just a little, light things. Do aliens exist is the first question. I know I'm joking. First thought, starting with you, Michael, just kind of Jordan Peele as a director, and particularly Get Out, Us. What do you think about those two films? And then based on that, how did you feel about going into Nope before you ultimately saw the film?
Well, even before I knew of Jordan Peele as the director, knew him from Key and Peele. So I've always been a fan of his. I always go back to, because I used to be a flight attendant, that skit that they did with the flight attendant and the turbulence and the guys like, fasten your seatbelts, and they still did. I was like, I so know that, and what exactly happened to that guy? I wish for that to happen every single time a passenger would get up. Anytime I said sit down. So I've always been a fan of Key and Peele. And so when he started directing and first, directorial debut, Get Out, absolutely loved Get Out. I thought it was a great directorial debut, and that was one of my favorite movies of the year that came out. I can't remember what year.
2017.
So that was one of my favorite movies of the year that came out. Us, I liked Us until it got to the end, and I wasn't a big fan of the end, and I left the movie pretty confused, and I was like, okay, I still liked it, but I don't know, it was kind of stupid. I wish it ended another way. And so, but either way, I still enjoyed those first two outings of the first time director. So when he released just a one poster for Nope, no synopsis, no nothing. It was just a poster. Just like the whole internet, I was hyped. I was like, I don't know what this movie is, but it had Jordan Peele on it, and I'm here. And then of course, just the fact that you had the cloud. I had a feeling it was going to be like an alien invasion, just like Black Lingo. You like, no, that's how that's how we are. Anytime there's some type of horror scenario in a movie, you see it usually is white people. It's like they were like, "Is anybody there?
Yeah,
where are you?" And it's like, yeah, black. We're like, nope. Even going back to Lovecraft Country, one of my favorite moments was when Journey Smollett was hauling ass from that little Demogorgon type of creature. I was like, that's how black people run in a horror movie. So all of that, I was super excited about this movie. So I'm not gonna say what my thoughts were yet. I'll save that till we get into it. But yeah, I was excited about going to this movie and very curious.
Very nice, very nice. Griff, man, same for you in regards to just the Jordan Peele filmography career so far. People are calling him a masterclass and, redefining the era of horror. Andy Muschietti, James Wan, Ari Aster, Robert Eggers. He's in that class of the new generation of horror. Did those two films work for you? And then kind of going into Nope, what was the anticipation level?
Yeah, I mean, I loved both of his two films. I really liked Get Out. I don't know if I put it on the level that a lot of other people did. I thought it was a really, really solid directorial debut. And just super confident arrival of a filmmaker. And I was really happy that he got, Oscar love for it too. That was amazing. I liked Us more, actually. I just thought it gave me a little bit more to chew on, and it was creepy, and a lot of the sequences were just incredibly well conceived and executed, and just the whole weird mythology that he sort of like put together, I thought was just like genius. And yeah, I loved Us and just like a lot of the imagery and stuff in there. So yeah, no, I was really excited for Nope. Although I will say, and I think maybe this is just because I had like gone to the movie so many times and I just seen it so many times. My anticipation level for the film definitely dropped a little bit because I just seen that trailer like all over the place so many times. And, you know, for your average person who's going to the movie theater, that's not going to be a problem. They'll see it like maybe once, maybe twice. But like for me, I'm like going to the movies like, you know, every other weekend or whatever. And I'm seeing this Nope trailer and I'm just like, yeah, I get it, man. I get it. Like, it's cool. You know, like I'll be there. I'll see the movie and whatever. But I definitely, I just kind of like went into the film like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm ready for this, whatever. And then I walked out of it, man, and I was just like, God damn, I was like so giddy. I was like so excited. All I wanted to do was just like talk about the film with like the people I immediately went with. Like I was driving home you know, talking with my partner who was next to me. We were just like kind of going back and forth. We were just like, you know, and I almost got in a car accident, whatever. And so it was just like, it was a lot of fun. No. It's slight exaggeration, but it was just one of those things where it was like, you know, I got out of there and I was just like obsessing over like this, like similar to how I felt when I got out of like Us, you know, to a lesser extent Get Out and all that stuff. And you know, I just think Jordan Peele is just one of those like incredible talents who manages to bring a lot of great like big blockbuster popcorn thrills, but like he's touching on stuff that I think is like really interesting. He's like doing it in a way that no one else is really doing, and it's I don't know, it's profound filmmaking, and especially with this one, like it's just a ton of fun, you know.
Man, a lot of great stuff you guys said, and I'm definitely in agreement with you all as far. So me personally, Get Out to me, I do kind of hold in a certain class because I was not expecting what we got in the film. Because again, coming from Key and Peele, it just be like, oh, it's probably a little funny, kind of quirky film, and it just hit me on another level. And it's something that I actually kind of revisit on a Halloween, and even prior to Halloween, I always just find myself revisiting that film a lot. Us to me, very similar to what Griffin said. I thought is such a well put together film. You can see the progression of a filmmaker, a storyteller from Get Out to Us, not even just from a production standpoint, from just how he puts the film together and orchestrates everything. And then being a horror fan, I love when directors can switch it up. We go from kind of a psychological horror with Get Out and then transition to kind of a more of a slasher film. Then obviously get into this one here, which we'll talk about, more the thriller, sci-fi elements of horror. So the man's doing his thing. But unlike Griffin, when I walked out of this film last night, by the way, I've seen it once, Griff seen it once, and Michael, a lucky friend here, has seen it twice. So, we're definitely going to see how that first viewing versus second viewing went. But I walked out of last night and it was kind of meh about the film. And it wasn't until I drove home, very similar to Griff. I didn't get into car accidents because I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, how did I feel about that? And then I kind of slept on it, kind of took down some notes and really kind of appreciated the nuances and kind of the themes that we talked about. And I'm still digesting it, very excited to revisit it again, but I wasn't as high on the film after coming out as I was with Get Out and Us. But again, coming to appreciate it a little bit more, and probably by the end of this discussion, picking you guys' brains and picking out stuff that maybe I can like a little bit more. So kind of diving into the actual film, going back to you, Mike, and hearing your thoughts on it, because again, I know you kept it a secret in regards to how you felt. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you walked out of the theater, what was your thoughts on Nope?
Okay, so as you mentioned, like I got a chance to see the movie twice. So I saw it Monday and Tuesday. And yeah, the first time I walked out of the theater watching Nope, like overall, I will say I did like the movie. Mm-hmm. But the first time I walked out of the theater, despite liking it, I still was just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, I don't know what this movie, I'm like, what is I was like, the cinematography was great. The acting was great. The score was great. But I was like, what story is he trying to tell me right now? Like, I feel like Get Out was pretty straightforward. Us was pretty straightforward, even though, like I said, I didn't really care for the ending. Mm-hmm. But this, I was just like, like, so like, I was like, and then, so after I saw it a second time, I was like, okay, certain things are starting to make sense. And I get this, I get that. But at the same time, even after a second viewing, I still left the movie very confused. Like, I still don't know what story he's trying to tell, what theme, what message. Because you know Jordan Peele in his movies, he always has
social commentary.
Social commentary. But I'm like, what is the commentary that he's trying to tell in this movie? Like, I have no idea. So that's my. I was like, I need to see like a director's cut, or not a director's cut, but a director's DVD like Blu-ray commentary. On this movie, because I'm like, what was the point of this scene? Like, we'll get into it, but I'm like, what was the point of the monkey? Like, what was the point
Gordy?
of
Gordy? We'll talk about Gordy. Man.
I'm like, what was the point of the photographer? And you don't deserve the impossible. It's just a lot of those moments that I was like, what was the point of that? But despite that, like, even though I had all those questions and all those gripes, I still liked at least the package that it gave me, even though I still felt like narratively, it was a little bit still all over the place and there were a lot of unresolved plots. But because of like the score, the cinematography, the acting, I love Keke Palmer. She's like, my favorite person. I love her. And like, so, and then just the chemistry that she had with Daniel Kaluuya and just seeing black people in a horror movie, like, or I wouldn't consider this a horror movie. It's more of a thriller, but just that, because that's something I love, that Jordan Peele is bringing to the Hollywood industry, because that's not something we really get. Seeing black
especially
people
on this scale,
and on this scale, not even just in horror, but a sci-fi fantasy period. Like, how many leading black movies, shows, video games, comic books, etc. Like, that's my whole that's my whole soapbox right there. But like, so that's another reason why I like really enjoyed the movie. But like, I wouldn't come out of this movie saying I loved it. And now that I've seen it twice, like Get Out, I will go revisit. Us, I will revisit. Now I've seen this twice. I'm like, I don't think I need to watch it again. I liked it, but I'm like, I wouldn't buy it on Blu-ray. Like, I had a good time watching it, but I don't have no interest in watching it again.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Throwing it to you, Griff, man. Kind of the same question in regards to, again, we know you almost died after seeing it, but what was the thought process after walking out in regards to, and we'll talk, we'll share our opinions on the themes and allegories and meanings and whatnot.
I was going to ask, did you see an alien? Is that why you
did you immediately go?
I saw the which by the way, I don't want to jump too far ahead. I mean, like my mind's racing in a million directions, but just like, I love the fact that the alien was like, that the UFO was actually like, there wasn't anything inside of it. It was just like that. It was the creature. Like, that was God, that was so fucking cool. Right. Well, that's what the movie reminded me of. It was very Spielbergian in a sense, and like I know a lot of people have made the Jaws comparisons, but they're apt, right? Like they're really true. You feel the tension. I feel like not showing the alien a whole lot and still feeling its presence. It's like super effective. I mean, there's even like a smile, you son of a bitch, kind of like moment towards the end of the film with Keke Palmer's character, which I thought was great. I don't know why, but for me, this felt like his most, I mean, maybe Get Out is still his most accessible film, but like, I feel like Get Out was like super accessible. It was very straightforward, as you put, Michael. And then like, Us was a little bit more ambitious. It was a little too vague in some parts, which I still appreciated, but I understood why some people were like, that wasn't really for me. This to me kind of hit that sweet spot of like, it's bringing the thrills, it's bringing the fun. You can enjoy this on a very surface level, from like a surface level perspective. But obviously, with Jordan Peele, there's a lot of other elements in there, and I feel like if you just take it at face value, like a lot of stuff like the monkey stuff doesn't particularly like pay off in a just like a plot sense later on in the film. So which, again, there's enough there to enjoy, like just as watching a movie and whatnot, but then there's also like these great layers, and like, the symbolism, the allegories, just like, what he's trying to say. I think the interesting thing with Jordan Peele, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, is that he's trying to say so many things, and you can interpret a lot of things in his films in many different ways, to the point where like sometimes that can kind of get in the way of your own enjoyment to a sense, or it's almost like he has too much on his mind. He can't like focus it down. I can see like that being an issue, but like for me, at least what I was able to glean from it, I really, I not only had fun, I was not only like terrified of moments, like the fact that the monkey sequence in the film was the scariest part of the movie is like insane to me.
Wait till we get to that part. Yeah,
that was like fuck. Like, oh god, I couldn't even. I was like staring to the corner of the screen because I was like, I can't watch this, man. This is like terrifying.
Yeah,
But that was incredible. But then like also the whole like Jaws thing at the end where they're trying to get the picture, and it's like, God, it's thrilling.
It's
You know,
thrilling, yeah. Yep.
Exactly. So it's just, I don't know. It was like a very well-rounded, fun time. And I don't know if you guys saw it in IMAX. I had a chance to see it in IMAX and like go see this film in IMAX because Hoyt van Hoytema did the cinematography. He's worked with Nolan a bunch of times, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, or maybe not. No, he did do Tenet. I can't.
Yeah,
he did. He did Tenet. Yeah,
Ad
and like
Astra.
obviously
I still haven't seen that movie yet.
Ad Astra.
Or
No,
Tenet.
Ad
Tenet.
Astra. Ad Astra too, but yeah, Tenet.
Well, I mean,
when
again,
you talk about walking out of a Jordan Peele film of this one, wait till you see Tenet, Mike. You're gonna be
yeah. I mean, like, look, like Hoyt's one of the best in the business, and like when you get a chance to see his movies like on a big screen, you know, it's like originally I was like, oh, I don't know if Nope is going to like warrant being seen in like an IMAX format. I'm sure it'll be fun, but it's like I don't know if it's like necessary or important or whatever. But when the camera is like orbiting the characters and it's looking in the clouds like it would be on the water with like a shark or something. God, it's like so suspenseful and effective. I loved the cinematography in this film.
Yeah, there were definitely moments where I felt like, in the way the movie was shot, like it stopped looking like a movie and it started looking like a documentary.
Yeah, for sure. It was really immersive.
Yeah, and that's something I really enjoyed about the immersive quality. Like it felt like you were actually watching people experience a special encounter of the close encounter or whatever the fuck the movie's called.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you all more from a production standpoint. And to Griff's point, and also Mike, these were the films that came to mind after I walked out of the film, as far as Close Encounters, Jaws, Signs, Space Odyssey, Alien, are just a couple of films that I thought that Jordan did a great job of kind of homage and paying, you know, kind of his love of those particular films. And I thought he did such a great job in it. But yes, production wise, to you guys' point, even from a basic level of entertainment, biggest screen possible to go see this in, without a question of a doubt.
Yep, I agree. If you're in New York, go to the Lincoln IMAX. That's the biggest IMAX in the U.S.
Ooh.
Yeah, and if you're in LA, go to see it at Universal City Walk with that massive freaking 70mm IMAX screen. It's like, oh God, it's my favorite.
And if you're in St. Louis, see it in Ronnie's theater. That's my big LA and New York, and I'm representing Missouri.
Yeah.
So
hey, we're all over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We got time zones. We got each time zone here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Central, East Coast, and West Coast. But I mean, from production standpoint, I'm totally with you guys. It was just all of a film, but kind of dissecting it. And this film is kind of broken into chapters here. And starting with you, Mike, man, in regards to this kind of first chapter that we walk into, which I believe was Ghost, if I'm not mistaken, which kind of highlights the opening of the film. Where before Ghost, we actually open with the Gordy moment, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that and seeing that crazy monkey do what he did. But we transition into kind of getting an idea of this family and meeting OJ and his father, played by Keith David, which I wish he was in the film just a little bit more, not just from a scene standpoint, but just from a father-son conversation. Also, which we'll talk about later, some criticisms that I have with the development between Kiki's character and this kind of resentment and relationship that she had with her father, that they didn't seem to be on the same page, but we didn't really go much further than just a couple of lines of dialogue there. But we open with this death, Griff, and we find out about the objects that the creature doesn't like and gets hit in the eye. And we open with, again, kind of in this chapter 1, 6 months later, Kahlua is selling his horses to Jupe, played by Steven Yeun, which we'll talk about. But just kind of first 15-10 minutes, Griff, the pacing, the story, where you immersed immediately, where you kind of like, did it take a while for you to kind of settle into the story?
So the monkey thing, the Gordy stuff at the beginning, I think was a really effective kind of like prologue to kind of like ease us into the film. I really like when Jordan Peele kind of like puts what's seemingly like random and unimportant like at the beginning and then like comes back to it a little bit later on. So that was really effective and just like making me feel uneasy right off the bat. And so then that translates into the stuff with Keith David and Daniel Kaluuya, and like the fact that it's like, you know, you're not quite sure what's going on. Like, okay, we've got this like horse farm and like they're horse breeders and whatever, and they're in like the motion picture business. And then like he dies, and it's like, holy crap! I thought Keith David was going to be in this film like a lot longer than he really was. And so yeah, and then immediately like going forward and into like, you know, Kaluuya trying to, you know, keep the family business going and like just really not fitting in with what like I guess the filmmaking crew was wanted, and like he's clearly not much of like a an extrovert or like a people person per se. He's like definitely more he's more of a straight shooter. He's more of an analog guy, whereas everyone else is more just like they've kind of moved on to like you know, more tech savvy and stuff like that. Even like down to the fact that like his phone is like a flip phone, and I don't know, there was like some really cool details that dealt with that. But yeah, just in terms of like getting me into the film, I thought like the Gordy stuff at the beginning was really effective, because then I was thinking about that as like everything else was sort of playing out, and then I was already on edge because of what happened with that, and I was just sort of like, all right, I'm a little like. Yeah. I'm like not sure where this is going. I'm a little creeped out, and then that carries over into what happens, you know, in the next couple scenes really effectively.
Yeah, it's definitely a very off-putting when you open a scene with a chimp with blood on his hands and blood on his mouth, and you know, we pan up at him. It was very unsettling, and then transition to that to seeing, you know, a father die in front of his son, and you could tell they had a close bond. But to that point, and tossing it to you, Mike, in regards to just kind of that Daniel Kaluuya stoic man, a few words, and as Griff kind of talked about, he seemed to be the one that stayed home and wanted to just truly be his father, as Keke Palmer's character kind of moved out. I believe they said the mom left just because he was so devoted into this business and all of that stuff. But how did you feel about Daniel Kaluuya and this kind of being kind of preserved? Did you feel like he was detached? Did you were able to connect to him? And then obviously, how did you feel about kind of opening up the film?
I liked his performance. I can't even think of the character's name.
OJ.
OJ. There we go. Yeah. Oh yeah. OJ. Your name's OJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I liked the way he portrayed the character. Honestly, funny enough, I don't know why my mind went this way, but it did. But he reminds me kind of Ennis from Brokeback Mountain, in a way, like being so closed off, and then just like being so stoic, and even kind of the way he talked, like he did barely open his mouth a little bit, like, and just like his reactions were very like kind of one note, but like not in terms of like acting, but that's just how the character was. Like even during the moment where he was given like he was almost forced to give like the safety speech for horses, and he wasn't even looking them in the eye or whatever. So like, and in a lot of ways, you can kind of tell everything that you need to know from that character just based on his body language. Like he was pretty sheltered. He's not used to being the front man, more or less. That was basically his father. That was his sister. He's used to just being in the background, just being the workhorse, so to speak.
Yeah.
But like going into like what Griffin said about like the way the movie began, like I thought it was very like bone chilling and harrowing and very creepy with the way how the movie began with like the monkey being like covered in blood, and then like there was like no score playing, and that's also something I really enjoyed throughout this movie, that it was interspersed that the score was just no music, there was nothing, no sound, nothing. It almost kind of reminded me, speaking of another comedy based director or comedy based person coming to horror, like John Krasinski with A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
So like there were a lot of moments of like, even when like, so with the monkey part, or even with the moment where the father ended up dying, how one moment you hear like the horses in the background, the like generators running, and all of a sudden it's like pitch silence, which also reminded me of one of the most beautiful shots in The Last Jedi, the Holdo maneuver, where the score just dropped. Like I love when movies do that. Like it makes it more immersive. It puts you in the movie. And like honestly, like my first time seeing it, because I had just gotten out of work, I was like fucking tired. I was like ready to fall asleep. But the way the movie was shot, and like the eerie quality of it, especially just because like this movie started like from jump. Like that kept me awake. That kept me interested, because I was just like, wait, I thought this was aliens. Why is there a bloody is this Planet of the Apes? Like what's going on? Like And so I thought that was a great way to open the movie. How you're putting things that matter from in the end, in the beginning, and things from the in in the beginning and the end. Like I just love the way like he did that.
Very different from Get Out, which I think opens to just, characters living their lives. We meet Dan Kaluuya, his girlfriend, all this stuff, us, the family dynamic. But yes, like you guys said, just to kind of open the movie with this tone and this sense of dread, and immediately like, okay, what happened? And obviously we'll get to what happened in Gordy and all that stuff there. But kind of transition into the kind of the idea of the film. We have, again, the father's died, and now OJ has to run the business. His sister comes, obviously, and we never got a funeral, which, I guess we didn't necessarily need that, but, they bury their dad, and we can tell that there's she doesn't come around too often because, again, I think there was some type of relationship issues between the two, but we now get into the situation where Kaluuya is noticing that the horses are going missing on the ranch, and this is where he comes across the cloud for the first time. And the whole idea and the premise of the film is these two brothers and sisters are trying to capture this UFO to get rich and famous, which I think kind of brings us and tossing it to you, Griff, kind of touching on the themes here is the idea of the cost of what you're willing to do to become famous, what that can do to you, as well as monetizing trauma, which we'll talk about with the Gordy and the joke storyline and all that stuff. But story-wise, did it kind of work for you in that narrative as far as just kind of a basic premise, but with some of those layers of just kind of touching on those themes that we just mentioned?
Yeah, I thought it was really sort of effective, and like especially their like chronicling their journey from starting where it's like, okay, we're just gonna do this to get famous or whatever, and then by the end it's like, no, this is actually something important that can help people, and we're not just going to exploit it for profit, which is what you see kind of leads to the downfall of some other people later on in the film, like the TMZ reporters, the most obvious example, the even the DP who was like shooting on film. It's like they got the shot at the end, but he was like, no, I got to get a better one. I got to get the magic hour shot. And it's like, well, there's your own ego kind of getting in the way. And this obsession with warping images to glamorize something in order to make it seem glamorizing horrific images to make it seem more I guess enticing than it is, and like our innate kind of obsession to do that. I mean, specifically with the Gordy stuff, the fact that Stephen Yeun's character kind of exploits a tragedy that he was a part of, and he keeps that shoe from the incident, and he puts it in a box, and he uses that. Basically, it's like people will pay him thousands of dollars just to like stay in that room, and it's not too dissimilar from like the people who like glamorize serial killers and like want to go like purchase like merchandise like that, or stay in the house that stay in the houses where like, horrible stuff happened like that, and it's. He kind of learns the wrong lessons, and then he repeats that on a bigger scale with him and the aliens. And he's like, okay, well, it's like he felt like he had this bond, this understanding with Gordy, and he was like, okay, you have to bring that animal to our level and like have an agreement with it, an arrangement with it. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to put that animal like in a box that it doesn't belong in, and like obviously like his foolishness to think that he can tame this alien and or whatever kind of leads to his demise, and that of everyone else in the film. I think maybe this is jumping a little too far, a little over the place, but the big thing for me with the film in terms of its messaging was learning not to put people or animals or things inside of a box. Like there's so much just like imagery and like and even stuff down to like the fact that Daniel Kaluuya's character's name is OJ, and someone tried to associate that with OJ Simpson, but he's like, no, that's not what that means. You're thinking in terms of stereotypes. To the fact where gosh, I mean, there's like so much stuff I have written down here. Yeah, I mean, even down to like the name of the film being Nope, which is a obviously like I think a trope and a stereotype that is often used in horror films for comedic effect, and it's not really treated seriously. But in the case of this film, the only people who survive are the people who are like, nope, fuck that, whatever. And so it's like, it's subverting something like that and turning it into an asset and a good thing. It's showing that like, you know, people are not monoliths. Like they can be more than one thing. And I thought that was just like so brilliant. There were like so many just like layers upon layers upon layers of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then also like, you know, using you know, taking influence from the past and like, you know, respecting it, acknowledging where stuff has kind of come from, you know, in terms of filmmaking. Obviously there's like a big film versus digital kind of allegory going on in here. But then like using that in order to like carve out your own path, in order to carve out, you know, what it is that you want to do, make your own creative statement, which I think Jordan Peele has kind of done himself in a meta sense. And I think you see a lot of that with Keke Palmer's character, who clearly like, because of Keith David's very like rigid view of the world, like he placed Daniel Kaluuya in the "you're a man, you're gonna do the man stuff" box, and like Keke Palmer in the "you're a woman, you're not allowed to train horses," blah blah blah. So like that's how that's gonna go. And she obviously took that really she didn't like appreciate that, because she wanted to train horses. She was like, the day you promised to you know, take me out to train horses, and then I saw, you know, OJ out there and everything, and that kind of like started this like kind of negative relationship with her father, because she was never allowed to be more than what he viewed her as. So yeah, I don't know. There was just like a lot of like great moments like that throughout the film. And then when we get to the end, where it's sort of like the film and digital working together in order to capture the image, and
magic,
it's yeah, exactly. And she gets the final shot
money shot
by doing it. Yeah, by doing it her way. And this is sort of the last thing I'll say before I toss it over to you guys. But like the thing that I loved was like the first shot that they got of the alien. And I don't know, maybe this isn't right, but this is the way I took it, because Daniel Kaluuya was running on the horse, and the alien flipped over, and the backside of it, its mouth was black, and so it was supposed to mirror the first image of like the black man riding on the horse, like the first moving picture. And it's like, okay, there's the past, but that shot wasn't good enough. It didn't necessarily give everyone what they were looking for. And so when we get to the end and Keke Palmer has to go and get, you know, this other shot, she's using, you know, the knowledge that she has from the past, and then you know, the modern sort of spin on it, in order to like get a different angle and get the shot that she's, you know, sort of looking for, which I thought was like really, it was like an incredible piece of like imagery there. I mean, even down to like the fucking, sorry, I know going all over the place, but like,
man.
Dude,
you can tell like film, right?
Like even down to the fucking like alien, right? Like the alien first emerges as a stereotype, as everything that we think the alien is, like this
Flying
floating
saucer,
UFO,
big heads,
big heads.
Yeah.
Like obviously the kids are like playing off of stereotypes there, but like this flying saucer kind of like emerges, and then it's not until like afterwards that we see like it's this big floating thing that manages to have a box for a mouth.
It's like a jelly. It looked like a jelly, like a manatee or a manatee or something.
It did look like that was such a cool design. And like, man, I don't know. There was like a lot of just like cool like moments like that. And anyways, I could go off and on and on.
Man,
but like,
it's why we have you here, Griff. It's breaking, and I'm loving it, man. And Mike, there's a lot to digest there, but kind of some things that Griff pointed out that I want to toss to you in regards to kind of the stories and the themes. Kind of this idea again on kind of the allegory of, again, what, especially in today's time, right? Especially with the TikToks, Instagrams, you know, the viral sensation of being the hit, and what you were willing to do to get the likes, the shares, whatever the case may be, and seeing this and kind of focusing on one character here, and Steven's character, Droop, someone that literally saw the most horrific thing you can probably see as a kid, a child actor, and within itself, you know, again, just the idea of placing people out of a situation, they forcing them onto them, you know, this career on himself and whatnot. But Steven, he sees something tragic happens, but yet he monetizes it. He, you know, exploits it. And we see, as Griff said, ultimately him working with an alien, having this agreement of stealing horses and feeding the horses, and ultimately ended up killing them. But your thoughts on this, kind of those themes of, again, the idea of, it catches up to you, especially when you're trying to catch a predator and when they bite back.
Yeah, first I want to say shout out to Griff right now for that little analysis that he just went. I was like, because as I was listening to, I was like, well, fuck, maybe I just wasn't smart enough for this movie.
No, you want to know the truth? I have to give a lot of credit to my girlfriend for a lot of that, because I walked out of it and I was like thinking about a lot of it, and she kept harping on like the Gordy stuff, and I was like, okay, so what's drawing you to the Gordy stuff? And she was kind of talking about like, you know, the nature of like putting something that doesn't belong somewhere into a box, and like, you know, Gordy obviously being like this creature of nature that we're trying to confine into a space that it doesn't belong in, and then kind of how that trickles over into like the child actors being exploited and put into, you know, the really like grim nature of the business, and then that just kind of spiraled into that whole, you know, stereotype allegory that was going on that I found so profound.
And I do have my thoughts and theories per se on Gordy. I think there was more to that situation.
Yeah, because I was gonna say even with that, because like I kind of like after the second, because the first time I was just like, why is this even in the movie? It makes no sense. It ended up having no real follow through. But then the second time I was like, okay, I kind of get what they're trying to say. Like he is, you know, thinks that he had this connection with this beast, trying to tame the beast, and now, you know, humans have egos. We think we control, we're the center of the freaking universe, and so he thinks because Gordy didn't kill him, he thinks he can now control this alien creature. And I was like, okay, I get that, but I still feel like it still was kind of messy. Like I still don't feel like, I feel like the Gordy thing could have been its own movie. In and of itself. But like, I do like appreciate that he is trying to say, like, because we as humans, going back to like the TikTok narrative, the thing, like, we are very much obsessed with like I, as a, you know, whatever little influence, you know, baby influence, especially compared to you guys that I am, like, I've gotten messages from people saying, hey, you know, because, you know, I'm very open on the internet. I talk about, you know, a lot of stuff besides reviews. I talk about personal life, yada, yada, yada. But there's still, everything that I put out is still very intentional. I don't talk about everything. There's still stuff that I don't put out. But I'll still get messages like, hey, do you mind actually talking about, like, you know, any trauma that you experienced in your life? And I'm like, yeah, sure, if you pay me. Like, I'm not doing it for free. But like, people kind of have that expectation that because I'm putting myself out there that they deserve every single part of me. Or even think about like what happened with Princess Diana. Like, she died because she was being chased by paparazzi.
Yeah.
And so, like, or like the TMZ guy where he jumping back to the movie, even though he was laying on the ground injured and maybe had a broken leg or whatever, he was still just like, take a picture.
Yeah.
Like, even as the alien was sucking him up, he's like, where's my cat? And speaking of, do you guys know who, like, I'm curious of who that was. I'm like, I know I know that voice. But I didn't.
I'm sure when it comes to IMDb,
I looked at the credits and he was uncredited. So I was like, I know that voice. I need to know who that is. There's a reason that they're covering this person's face.
Yeah. And we'll watch. It'll be like Bill Hader or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna see if it's on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
But like, I still feel that, like, this, despite like trying to tell that narrative, and I don't know, it still just felt like weird in the way that it was done, interspersed with this more or less blockbuster alien epic. Like, in some ways, it's still like I said, I still enjoyed the movie, but it's still, I don't know, it still kind of felt out of place. Like, it felt too outlandish in the story or the movie that we ended up getting. Like, in many ways, like, it still felt incomplete to me by the end.
Yeah.
So like, I was still like certain characters, I was still just like, well, what was the point of this? Like the photographer guy, like, I get he wanted to get the final shot, but at the same time, I wasn't satisfied by the end of his by the end of his like journey, more or less. What are you about to say?
So to that note, Michael, and definitely Griff, jump in, man. As far as the cinematographer, he was a renowned, well-known photographer. Always wants to get the shot, even when he's editing the photos of I think it was an anaconda fighting a tiger or something. Again,
yeah. Well, it's
abrasive nature of nature, right? And just capturing that shot, but. Let me know. I personally would have thought it would have been more maybe satisfying if Steven Yeun's character Jupe would have maybe survived out of all that incident that happened, and I wish he would have maybe tagged along with that process of trying to capture that shot. I thought there was more story to be told with his character in replace of the cinematographer. I don't know if that was. I don't know. I wish we would have had a little bit more with Jupe.
I mean, I think with. Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely, like, obviously give me more Steven Yeun, and I'm like all in for it. He's fucking incredible, and especially in this movie. But I don't know. I guess he kind of had to, meet his end the way he did in the film, because ultimately it was like he was sort of like trying to
make a deal with the devil, essentially.
Yeah, right. He was trying to put a force.
He
was trying to put a force of nature under his own control, right? Like with man's own arrogance, thinking that they can sort of do that. So like I think it was fitting that for someone who is exploiting different kinds of tragedy for his own personal gain, that he would being someone who came from that and understands the severity of that, the fact that he would get his comeuppance by meeting a similar fate, I think is only natural, because he's like he took the wrong lessons from that entire encounter with Gordy.
Childhood,
Yeah, to your point about the cinematographer thing, I actually really liked kind of how they went with his arc, because I mean he has that whole conversation with Keke Palmer's character about like trying to get to the top of that hill, right? That idea of like you will never be able to get to that top of the hill because you're always going to be unsatisfied, which is something that I think like Keke Palmer's character kind of has to learn throughout the course of the film, and then like a lot of the other characters, and for which he kind of being like the Quint character in if we're making Jaws comparisons, in the film, he he gets the shot and it's not good enough for him. He's like, it's that idea of like just getting a shot of what's happening in order to help a larger group or whoever in like a positive way. It's not enough. He's like, no. If this is gonna be the shot, I got to make sure it's like the shot. And so he's like going for a second take. And sometimes I think the
thing that kind of threw me off about that is like even after he got the shot, he was talking to the other guy, the Best Buy guy, the fries.
Right, the fries guy. Yeah.
And he was just like, you don't deserve the impossible. And then he like grabbed the kid. So I was like, that's the line. And I was just like, it didn't seem like he wanted to get a better shot. He was just like, now that I got the shot, I'm going to take it away and try to do my own thing. Like, so I was just like, is he trying to go off and do it? Like, what's happening right now?
I almost feel like it was kind of a suicide mission, because there's a shot in the film
that's what it felt
when
like,
he's taking some prescription. We never know what it is, but I assume he was coming to meet his end. His days were numbered, and he was kind of he just felt the whole world felt jaded to him. He was just moving by the motions. He's lived the Hollywood life, and now he's just it's a paycheck, and he only does the stuff that gets him excited, which hints to him helping him out with we're doing a reality show. I don't like that. Oh, we're doing a documentary. Oh, okay. Yep. So I feel like his days were numbered, and again the whole him taking the pills thing kind of was like maybe he saw he was like, I'm gonna go out my way versus just whatever.
Well, I mean, again, sort of like the Quint comparisons. Like, you kind of get the sense in Jaws that Quint doesn't feel like he's gonna make it back from the mission, but he doesn't necessarily care because he's gonna go out trying to kill the shark.
I've only seen Jaws one time, so you're saying I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
Well, one, go watch it again because it's a masterpiece. It's such a great film, but
rewatchable for sure.
And funny enough, my first time watching it was probably like 5 years ago.
Oh, damn. All right. So you're like a little bit removed. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like watching it right after you've seen this film will not only make you appreciate this film more, but just it's kind of like a great double feature in my mind, because they're very different, but like, there's like similar-ish elements that I think are like a lot of fun for sure.
We briefly talked about the tech guy. Which shout out to Brandon, the actor. I can't think of his last name at the moment. What is it? Piera. He was an interesting character. I can't think of his name in the film, but he was, Keke Palmer definitely kind of brought that levity, but he was also that kind of
Angel.
Angel. Yes.
Angel.
Which, I don't know if there's something to be said about any deeper meanings of Angel helping them out and trying to get this, this devil of a sorts captured. But what did you all think about that kind of idea of Angel being implemented in the plot and him helping them with the cameras and ultimately, being a part of the team? Were you a fan of Angel? Starting with you, Michael, what did you think of that character?
I liked Angel's character. Like, it almost kind of set up like the trio aspect. Like he got his own poster. So the only thing I kind of wish is that we learned a little bit more about his kid. Not even just him, but all of the characters. Like I feel like by the end of the movie, and this is also kind of like my disappointment, is like I feel like kind of by the end of the movie, we still didn't really get to know the characters really. Like we've got like brief, like Salt Bay, brief like little sprinkles of exposition and thing, but we didn't like who is Emerald by the end of this movie. I don't really know. Same thing with Angel. Same thing with Daniel Kaluuya. Like I don't really know who these characters are by the end of the movie. But I still liked the character of Brandon, and I wanted to get to know him more. Like joking about like the girlfriend leaving him for a CW show.
That had me.
And then like I kind of felt like his story kind of like dropped after he got sucked up to the alien that he kind of fell, and then we never really seen him again. So what were you about to say?
No. Sorry, on your point about the CW thing, but like then he goes trying to show her off again, right? Like showing trying to in a micro level, like trying to still like I don't know get some sort of benefit out of like a bad situation,
or like validating
it's his way of trying to make himself feel better. It's like he dumped me, but guess what? I'm with the girls on the I'm with the girls on the CW. Like hey,
it's like oh cool right, trying to profit off of tragedy. Like
I mean if I dated Jonathan Majors and we broke up, I'd be like guess what?
Everybody had t-shirts.
I'd be like I used to date Jonathan Majors. Like
exactly.
Handle, Jonathan Majors' ex. Definitely.
I'll be headed out business card. Yeah, I was Jonathan Majors' ex. Like,
nice to meet you. My name's Michael. I used to date Jonathan Major. I don't know.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
No, his character was really interesting because he almost gives you that kind of stoner vibe and kind of the guy that's where we all worked retail. It has its highs and lows, but I think this was just a moment of his life, kind of reflecting off of the cinematographer, where it's just like he's coming through the motions, just had a breakup. I'm looking for something to get excited for, and this was that perfect opportunity of a sorts to maybe get rich and famous and maybe make his ex a little bit jealous now that he has a comeuppance with this potential finding of an alien. But we've hinted at it, we talked about it, but let's just kind of talk about the actual chapter, which is, after chapter 2, which is, and I might get the order wrong, but, we see Steven Yeun, he gathers all the people together, which, by the way, it took me a while to realize that he actually knew about the aliens. Like I was like, wait, when did he know about the aliens? It was kind of but again, he explained, right after Keith David died, he saw a similar cloud. But that whole, which I guess I don't want to skip over that sequence, and before we go into Gordy, that sequence, Griffin, with him setting up the horse, which I left in the box. The horse, without saying much, was like, nope. I'm not
pretty much.
Yeah. Also,
I was like, part of me was like, it's kind of funny that it's a black horse too.
Dude, I was literally about to say the same thing. The only horses that got abducted were white horses. It was the black horses that survived. Yeah. It was so funny.
But I mean, Griff, just to your point, as far as that Clover, I think was that chapter 2.
Yeah,
we see, and this is where we see someone actually get sucked into the alien, and we see the bones and the terror and the look and the shot.
Horrifying.
I mean, your thoughts on Clover 2 before we actually get into Gordy, which I think a lot of stuff to be said about Gordy. But your thoughts on this chapter 2 here?
Yeah, so and I'm trying to remember the chapter order and everything like that, because do the people get sucked up after the Gordy flashback or before the Gordy flashback?
I thought it was that, and then we went. Mike, you saw it last night. You remember?
I'm sorry. I've seen it twice and I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Clover, and then Gordy was chapter 3 to kind of flash back to his life, I think.
Yeah, it was. Which one was Lucky? Because Lucky was the one where the
horse
aliens
that could betrain that thing.
No, the last chapter was the jacket, Lucky Jacket.
Jean Jacket. Lucky was chapter 4, which was the
Lucky is when that's the start of him doing the little presentation in front of the crowd.
Oh, okay, right, yep. yeah, and right, because Lucky is the horse that does not get sucked up, right? Yeah,
Lucky,
and then I think, yeah, it was good. Yeah, see, but regardless, in terms of just like the people getting sucked up and like eaten by the alien, that's horrifying. It was like super effective, and like I kept waiting for like, because at that moment we didn't realize that it could like shapeshift or that the UFO was like the creature. I kept waiting for like little alien people to pop out on the table and like,
probe.
Which actually speaking of that moment where OJ was in the barn,
dude,
and you saw did you think those were actually, because like I did, and like the whole audience, and I was in the second time I was in the audience with a bunch of black people. Everybody's like, hell no.
I just
that jump scare was very effective. Or not?
Oh my god,
that setup.
That shit. I was creeped out. I was like,
creeped out.
Like, get out,
dude. Like straight up, the way that they moved and like everything. Yeah. Like I was a little like skeptical that they were like. There's something like this doesn't seem quite right. This is a little too early in the movie to be revealing this. But then like I don't know, the way they moved, like the lack of music or whatever, and it was just sort of like, oh my god, that's so creepy. And then all isn't as it seems because it's like all the kids fucking around with him.
And then when the other one popped out of the side of the barn, the whole audience was like, "No!"
Yeah, man.
He stood on that shot too, hiding behind the pillar there. I'm like, this is great, Jordan. This is great tension that you're building here.
Oh yeah, no, it's because you get it multiple times because you're thinking of you're going through your Rolodex of like alien, like kind of what do aliens look like in movies like this. You think the praying mantis might be one. You think these weird little alien people might be one.
I was waiting for that sign shot. I was waiting for the sign. Yeah. Creep everyone out.
Yeah. But the cool thing that I liked about the alien, and I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but the alien kind of reminded me of the bear from Annihilation with how it would like move around with all the people screaming and stuff like that. It was like, which the bear in that movie is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Just like absolutely horrifying.
Honestly, that's the only part of that movie that I liked. I did not like it.
Oh no, I didn't either. I did not like that film. But you did? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's another podcast for another day. How it's
I couldn't get into it.
I couldn't get into it. We're going to have
to fight. But to your point, the bear is the one thing from that film that sticks with me, and like similar in this movie with the alien kind of like moving around, like just with the screams and then the blood, like that was so effective, like very, very unsettling.
The blood scene, which we'll get into here in a second, because we talk Gordy and we'll talk about the house, the blood. That whole sequence was just jaw dropping. But let's just get into Gordy. Hashtag justice for Gordy. I don't know. But Mike, man, we finally open the film with Gordy, then we finally see the moment. So just to kind of play out the scene, we see the shot being made. He's Jupe is a adopted kid. He has his family. They're celebrating Gordy's birthday and pop up a balloon. He snaps. He beats the girl's face in, which we see her a little bit later in the film. And ultimately, we see Gordy pounding his friend and gets shot in the head right in front of the little kid. That scene to me, and to your point, Michael, I think it does have somewhat of a thread to the main narrative, but I can see how people can feel like it was kind of pointless because it didn't ultimately affect the ending of the film, but it just had the message of, again, can put an animal in a cage and not expect it to bite back. But your thoughts on this sequence and how did it work? Did it not work? Your thoughts on the Gordy stuff?
Yeah, because then also with that, because like once Stephen Young is on, now Gordy is like really pointless, and they focus so much on it in the movie that like it ultimately. Like it would have made more sense if it somehow, even though it didn't happen to our main characters, that it somehow still connected to them in some aspect, and really kind of didn't. But I still enjoy, even with that, I still enjoyed the Gordy stuff because like that's how the movie started. Like that's what like got your attention. It was just like, wait, what is happening right now? And then also like just the fact that like we've heard stories in real life of like things like that happening with people that have like pet chimpanzees or chimpanzees escape from the zoo or whatever. Like, like that is a scenario that could pretend like that's not fantasy right there. Yeah. And just the way it was shot, like granted it was a CGI monkey, but that CGI was pretty on point. Like you could tell it was CGI, but it still looked pretty good. And just like the silence of not even just like the fact that, you had Jupe under the table basically, in fear of his life because he's a kid, but just like nobody in the audience, because I don't know if like the monkey killed them all or whatever, but then
I had to suspend my disbelief.
Yeah, because I was like, where are all the people? Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I was like, where are all the people at? But I was like, I let it go. But it was still like just the eerie atmosphere of it, and then like just the fact that you had the applause thing still blinking in the background. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, like imagine, like, what would I do if I was in this situation? The one thing I will say though is like when the father came down the stairs, I was like, where was he at? Like, where did he come from? And then like I was like, I would think he would at least, because he was there when it first happened. So I was like, where did he go? He didn't try to go get a weapon or something. He just came running down the stairs like he didn't even know what was happening. So that's the only thing I had a question about. He was like, Gordy, no. I was like, get a fucking like a bat or something. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're on a set. Like, I'm pretty sure there's something that, especially if you were able to run away, like you knew what was happening. You could have had a weapon, but I still enjoyed the scene. Like me, I'm a sick individual. Like, blood, sex, gore, and match. So I would have liked to have seen more of the blood and gore. Even getting into when the aliens sucked up the people. I wanted to see them actually die because I'm, like I said, I'm a sick fuck. But like,
that's Jordan Peele for you. He grabs the leash. He's like, that's enough. I don't want to show too much. I want imagination. To see, like, because there was like the eerie moment of them screaming inside the creek. Like, I don't think that was the alien. I think that was actually them screaming, because there's a moment where it just stops. I think that was the moment where they actually finally die. I want to see, like, is it like stomach acid? Like, how does it happen?
You
like,
wanted all the details.
I wanted all the details.
Yeah.
That Jordan Peele cut, the X-rated, bloody cut.
Yeah, I want the A24 cut.
Yeah.
God.
But so the Gordy. So I guess the big thing about Gordy, to me, the shoe standing still.
Oh yeah, speaking
or standing
of, like,
up.
how, that's not physics. Like, how does that happen?
So for me, because there's this whole thing about the alien and animals and connecting to animals, and in particularly the behavior of animals when they're surrounded by the alien. I personally think, and I could be wrong, that Gordy was triggered by the aliens coming to Earth in 1998 for the very first time, or maybe multiple times, and it's just one of examples of them visiting Earth. But that's because the shoe, to me, that physics, it doesn't make sense for that shoe to just be standing still without any reason. And we know throughout the film the electronics going off and all that stuff. So I personally think, besides Gordy being locked in a cage and snapping, I think it had a little bit to do with the aliens being present on set. Hence to the fact that when we saw the horse hopping over the fence and all that stuff, I think the aliens were involved with Gordy's actions in that scene. I could be wrong, Griff.
I think it's just the balloon popping.
Balloon pop?
The balloon. Yeah, I was that was the shoe thing was something I was having conversations with people about for a little while. I took it as a little bit more of like, it was like a logical liberty, or in order to like illustrate a point, which was like he's clearly looking at that shoe, and like that shoe reminds him of everything that's kind of going on here, but yet he chooses to exploit it. And like also the fact that there's that drop of blood on the shoe, you can also kind of draw a parallel to the black eye of the alien and everyone looking up, and then like that kind of sealing their fate. So him looking into the drop of blood on the shoe could be indicative of like what his fate is going to be later on in the film. So I didn't take that necessarily literally, although like I think it's, I don't know, maybe there is some sort of like literal meaning for like what's going on there, but I did think that was like Peele kind of throwing in a little bit of like movie magic in order to like illustrate a point, for sure.
Interesting. I don't know. I think the aliens were there, guys. I think the aliens.
I mean, it's very well.
Well,
the monkey.
If there's one, there's got to be another. Like, there's got to be another one somewhere.
I mean,
this could definitely lead to a sequel, maybe.
Yeah, I think this film is basically
where did
saying.
It come from?
Yeah, well, I think the film is basically saying that all stingrays are aliens, and that's really
that's what it turned into. It was like by the end of
exactly.
the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Jaws effect. I guess no one really never go into the water again. Now, you might get bit by a creature in the sky. But the Gordy stuff, I mean, I think that was one of the most standout scenes, next to after pissing off the alien and the night scene. Man, with that whole setup of it being dark and it coming over the house and the blood dripping from the side of the house, very kind of shining Kubrick bloody elevator scene, and we have them just again the animal's pissed at this point. He's territorial, which I guess the territory aspect of the Predator. Do we feel like it was more so to do with the horses, or there was more deeper meanings to that, feeling the alien presence, wanting that land again, the whole idea of aliens being seen in the sky in kind of unknown areas, unfamiliar areas, the territory aspect of the Predator. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I feel like in terms of it being territorial, I mean, that was sort of like a callback to OJ and his father, dealing with like, I think one of the horses who was acting all territorial and stuff. Like it kind of showed that OJ had an understanding of these creatures. Like he understood that, like, in order to tame the beast, in order to break the horse or whatever, he couldn't bring it to his level. He had to like understand like the kind of creature it was, and then like by understanding it, he'd be able to do what he needed to do, which I think is like kind of interesting on like a few levels. Like, I mean, it kind of goes back to like understanding I guess the past, or like understanding where certain stereotypes or whatever kind of like stem from, and then kind of like how to engage with that in like a modern context or whatever. But anyways, in terms of just like this narrative straightforward, I think like that was mainly there so that like OJ could be his past dealings with horses or whatnot would kind of come in. Like he's not trying to put nature under his thumb. He's not trying to bring it down to his level. He's trying to meet it where it's at, and he respects it enough to engage with it on that level. Yeah,
that's a good point, because talking to you, Mike, because there is that relationship that he does have, again, maybe years of neglecting, having a love, falling in love, going to school, doing just everyday people things versus being on the ranch. Because there is that scene again when he's training or trying to train the horse, and they bring the item up to it and it kicks back, and again him never looking the animal in the eye, and to Griff's point, Mike, the idea of breaking the when you get a horse, you got to break him, you got to let them kind of that dominance, but again kind of playing on the same level, a level of respect of a certain sorts. But your thoughts, Mike, on this kind of, I guess, this relationship or understanding or misunderstanding between human and beast, and in particularly Daniel Kaluuya and trying to come to grips with taking down this force of nature in this alien.
I think it just goes to show that like Daniel Kaluuya being a horse wrangler, like he does realize or has the understanding that even though he uses these horses, trains the horses or whatever, like at the end of the day, these are still wild animals. We can't control them. We can maybe manipulate them a little bit.
Yeah.
But we can't control the beast. They're still beasts. They're still way more powerful than us. One kick, if you saw John Wick 3, one kick from a horse, boom, you're done.
You're out. Yeah.
So so like I think that was just using that moment and his understanding of horses and nature to show like him basically saying like, yeah, like, and it's also going to show like the subverting the audience's expectations and saying, oh, it's not a UFO, it's actually an animal. It's a creature. It's a beast. It's another thing that we think we might be able to control, like Stephen Yeun did, but it's like, no, we can't actually control it. Maybe we can manipulate it a little bit, which is what they did, but it's not something that is within our, control, more or less.
Yeah.
So
I think there's also something to be said about the motif of like being able to break the horse and like how that's kind of tied into being able to break stereotypes. What do we need to do in order to break boundaries? Whether it is like for, whether it's through art, whether it's through, like I said, like stereotypes or whatever. Like, so there's a bunch of different directions you can kind of like go in terms of just like the whole like breaking the beast kind of thing going on there, which, I don't know. I was just like, I literally just like thought of that, and I was just like, wow, that's that's so interesting. Like there's just more to uncover here.
And again, that's to the benefit of the film, or like Michael said, I've seen it twice, and I've gotten what I wanted out of it. But again, that revisiting of the film and cracking the egg and finding more to discover is definitely this type of film. Which I guess I
definitely recommend for most people. Like I said, even though I've seen it twice, like I have no interest in really revisiting it again, but I definitely feel like this is a movie that you have to watch more than once.
Yeah,
I think straight as well. Yeah, I mean, you can take out of it one viewing and kind of leave it at that, but there's so much to digest and to dissect with this film. But to kind of pivot, Mike, just to that point, as far as audience reception, divisiveness of films, especially coming off of us, which we've all said our thoughts on it. But do you feel as though, as far as the average moviegoer, is this a film that we think right now is tracking at 50 million, and we got Comic-Con this weekend, so we'll see if that affects the numbers at all. But just a general audience perception, do you think this will be a friendly film for normal moviegoers, or will people kind of be maybe not as receptive to this film?
I feel like it might be a little bit of column A and column B, because during the 2 screeners that I had, there were a couple people that came out of the movie that was just like, oh, I absolutely loved it, yada, yada, yada. But then there were other people, kind of like how my reaction were just like, because I went with a friend of mine, and he's not a movie reviewer, he's not an influencer, he's not a YouTuber or anything. And he was still just like, yeah, I think I need to sit and process it for another 24 hours, because I have no idea what I just watched. He was like, what was this movie? He was like, he basically said the same thing I said. He was like, I liked it, but I don't know what I just watched. Like, what is this movie? And I kind of feel like that's going to be the reaction for a lot of people. Or I know, I don't know if you guys saw Sharonda's review for Pay Away.
I haven't gotten a chance to. No.
She did not like the movie. Like, she hated it at all. Gotcha. She was just the movie, it was a nope for me. So, and so there might be a little bit of that too. Because I said, I don't know if maybe people have certain expectations, like Alien Invasion, so straightforward, but it was kind of all over the place with Gordy and so I don't know if regular audiences would necessarily be as receptive to that. So
that, and it's great to also to you, man. And to that point, as far as expectations, not only is this a Jordan Peele film, and he's kind of getting that again, breaking down the stereotypes. I think now people are starting to put that pressure on him, like kind of an M. Night situation. Oh, what's the twist? What's the allegory? They're looking for those things, going in, trying to discover it versus watching it, and discovering as you watching it versus kind of nitpicking and kind of as you go along. Do we feel as though this film will be something that people will gravitate towards, revisit, go word of mouth, see it over and over again? Or is it something where, kind of to Mike's point, people are going to be kind of turned off by it, whether it's pacing, gory storylines, so many things to digest in today's, again, quick digest. Let's move on to the next one. Is this a film that you think people will naturally gravitate towards?
You could say that people were trying to put Jordan Peele in a box. And I think he is also trying to say that as well in a meta sense, in terms of what people expect from his films. Also, just like an Alien film, right? People expect one thing from an alien invasion movie and they get something else and they're upset about it. People are always looking for that next thing to kind of they want their expectations met, not always subverted. And I think sometimes it's good to subvert expectations, because then it causes you to think differently. I do think this film has staying power, just by nature of it being a Jordan Peele film, and by the nature of it just having so much that you can kind of dive into and whatnot. I think it will be something that people do revisit, but I also can see the flip side of it, where it's after one viewing you might be turned off from it because you didn't get it, and it's what the fuck is this? I didn't go to a movie to feel stupid, right? I came to be entertained, and
I don't want to work.
Right. You don't want to, which that's fair. I mean, people go into films wanting different things, but
escape life, escape everyday things, just shove popcorn in their face and
right. I do think in the case of this one, though, it does offer enough spectacle and just general base level thrills to where like sort of what I was saying at the top, even if you don't want to engage with it on like a deeper level, there's enough here to enjoy. Like again, like the Gordy stuff might be like, what the fuck is going on here, but like the stuff with the alien is like entertaining enough. The whole quest of them trying to get the shot to show the world and them taking down the beast, like that's all really like entertaining stuff, and it's executed in a way where like anyone can enjoy. So I'll be curious to see how this does at the box office. I don't know.
Same. Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head how well his other two films performed. I know Get Out was like massively successful at the box office. I don't know how well Us did, but this one, I don't know. It's got, positive word of mouth. Maybe not as positive as Get Out, but like it is still like that. It's got that whole mind blowing thing surrounding it. So hopefully people go see it. I don't think Comic-Con is gonna really affect it too much.
Yeah.
People will see that stuff online and then they'll forget about it, right? Whereas like a movie they're gonna go to and they're gonna like take whoever they want to and have a good time. Plus, like, it's a horror film, so like there's just a general appetite for that sort of thing, and then you add on to it the fact it's like, oh, it's a new Jordan Peele movie. So
yeah,
I think it'll be a film that has legs, even if it doesn't perform well on opening weekend, or like if it falls short of expectations. And then I think it's a movie that's going to do really, really well when it hits VOD. I think that's going to be when people kind of go and they're like, okay, cool, I can watch the new Jordan Peele movie from at home. Unfortunately, we've been advocating for people to go see this in IMAX, and I really hope people do go see it in IMAX because it deserves to be seen in IMAX. But the way things are these days, people just want to watch stuff at home, so I can see them.
COVID shifted things,
yeah, exactly.
But even with this, like I think about something like The Green Knight, for example. Like critics loved The Green Knight, but audiences not like it got a C+ on Cinema Score. It has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Part of me kind of feels like this movie may end up being almost in the same.
The only thing I think is going to keep that from happening to those levels.
There is more spectacle in this one. Yeah. The alien. So it might be higher than The Green Knight, but at the same time, I feel like people might walk out of the theater like, what?
Sure. I
can definitely. I don't think to your point, Mike, I don't think it's as dense as that, and it is more accessible. But I can definitely see some people just not being turned off by it. Again, whether it's expectations of alien movies, expecting Independence Day and some cheesy lines or whatnot. But it definitely has more to offer. I was trying to look up Box Office Mojo 2 or 3 years ago when they completely changed their website and just made it so much more difficult to navigate. But I believe to Griff's point, Get Out did open up to 33 million. And Us, I'm still trying to look up. I think it opened maybe about 10 million more. And right now this film, Nope, is tracking for about 50 million, which I don't think Comic-Con is going to hurt it too much. There is obviously some crossover there between demographics, but I think people are going to find their way to see this film, even with Comic-Con and hopefully Henry Cavill coming back as Superman being announced. But kind of the thing I want to kind of wrap up with, guys, is
Us opened at 71.1 million.
Oh, so almost, double. So they're projecting,
and it's currently sitting at 255 million worldwide.
Yeah, and I think Get Out's right around the same ballpark. So. Yeah, so obviously not as high as Us as far as, again, tracking at 50, but I can see it obviously get into that $70 million price range. But I guess, Griff, I know you talked about the love of the film and appreciation of the film, but what were some elements of the film that maybe just didn't click, wasn't fully developed, didn't flesh out as well as you wanted to? What were some things that just didn't work for you on again, that first viewing?
I don't know.
That's nothing.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and call it a masterpiece quite yet, but it's knocking on the door for me, I think it's probably my favorite film that he's done for sure. It's hard, cause I feel like any sort of negative that I would have, I'd be really, really trying to scramble to find one. There's nothing that immediately comes to mind. I thought it was a really well-paced movie, which I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with. I think there's a fair few people out there who think it was a little clunky. It was a little too long. Again, the Gordy stuff kind of stopped the momentum. I was just so invested the entire time and riveted by everything that he was kind of touching on throughout it that Man, I don't know. There's no like glaring things that I'd be like, that didn't work. Like that was really bad.
Was all great. It looked beautiful. It sounded beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say this, like I think if you're going into it expecting more of a character centric film, it doesn't necessarily deliver in that department as fully as like maybe you'd want. Like yeah, you know, there's an argument to be made that like some of the characters could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but I think like for me it felt more like plot and thematic and like theme centric more so than everything, and like it did that so well. And like you know, I always go back to a film like some of Nolan's films like Tenet or Dunkirk, where like the focus isn't necessarily on like the characters and like their emotional state or whatever. Like so, you know, some stories are just naturally more plot focused, and I think that's okay to have those kind of films too. This film definitely gives you a little bit with you know, Kiki and Daniel Kaluuya, and like their dynamic and like trying to become their own people out of the shadow of their father and whatnot. And like you know, it's not the most riveting thing in the world, but it like did enough for me to go, okay, yeah, I get that. And then paired with everything else going on, it worked for me. But you know, what I'm assuming, you know, Michael is going to say, because I think you alluded to it a little bit earlier, the characters you thought were a little thin, like 100% see where you're coming from in terms of that.
And tossing it to you, Mike, but you know, kind of elaborating more on that and maybe other things that just didn't click or work or fully develop for you in this film.
I mean, I feel like I kind of like mentioned all of my biggest issues with the movie overall. I will say for me, like, and I know how this is going to sound, but I'm gonna still say it anyway and then elaborate on it more. But for me, I feel like this is his weakest of his 3 movies going out so far. Now, with that said, like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I don't think it's a bad movie, but going back to the point that I mentioned, like I would go back and watch Us. I would go back and watch Get Out. This, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to. I saw it. I had a good time. You know, to throw a Jeremy Johns rating in, like, you know, good time, no alcohol required. But yeah, like already forgot it, and like 2 point whatever his rating is. So that's kind of how I feel about like the movie. Like I saw it 2 times. We're talking about it now, but it's like it's already out my head. Like whatever, we're having a discussion, but who cares? But like,
so you're telling me when this is on your Blu-ray shelf, you're gonna look at it and you're gonna say nope.
Pretty much. Like, not even the Blu-ray shop. I'm gonna see it at Target and I'm be like, nope, not buying it.
You won't even buy the Blu-ray, yeah.
Nope, I won't even buy the Blu-ray. Yeah. But I will say, like, I do kind of feel like, and I'm not Griffin, I'm not talking about you, so I don't want you to think.
Oh, dude, no, look, yeah, bring it on. Let's hear it. Yeah.
But part of me was like, I do kind of feel like even in terms of like the critics, I do feel like people are kind of like overhyping the movie. Like I see, and part of me kind of feels like I feel like white people are scared to criticize this movie or say anything bad about, because I see some people, and granted, I get everything is subjective, and like people feel differently, but I see people like tweets like, oh, this is the best movie of the year. This movie's a masterpiece. And I'm just like, all right, come on now. Like, it's not like, it's not. So I don't know. Part of me, I do feel like there's a little bit of that as well.
Twitter hyperbole.
In terms of like the critic reaction with some of the tweets that I've been seeing, like basically like, yeah, just like this movie has no flaws. Like it's great. This is his best movie of the catalog. Like, I don't know. It's just, part of me is just like, do you really feel that? Do you really feel that? Yeah. I don't believe you. Like,
well, there, you know, you could always tell when like a lot of the tweets kind of like seem like a little bit more exaggerated. Yeah. I totally get where you're coming from, for sure. Yeah.
So for me, as far as things, and I kind of alluded to, I do feel like there were some moments I wish we could have dove a little bit deeper in particularly the relationship between Emerald and her brother OJ, and just kind of really having that conversation. They do, you know, you see, you know, our dad was a fuck up, this, that, and the other. There's just 1 or 2 lines, but I felt like there was more to explore in that relationship. You know, her leaving, her becoming her own person, and coming back once he's died, and also too. Again, I appreciate the Gordy stuff, but I felt like that 15-minute segment could have been more, you know, spending time with those 2 characters and maybe flashing back to when she did leave the house. What was that moment that broke her of a sense to
or even like a moment of mourning? Like we never really saw her mourn her father, or like really like talk about her connection. Like it was just a line. It was just like there was
The
really
mom
any connection.
died too, right? Was that something that was mentioned with her picture on the wall?
I don't even remember if
they
they
never
mentioned.
really
Yeah, I don't
addressed.
remember
Yeah,
if they really
I remember
it.
they
No, they showed the
pointed to
picture. Yeah, they showed the
yeah.
picture, but I don't think they really addressed the mother.
Yeah. That's
see it
right.
again. See what they said there. But and as far as plot holes or conveniences, there's nothing besides again the Gordy situation. Even if it is 98, they would have had a trained professional chimpanzee expert on the set to control that situation more. And I found, again, the wild animal, sure, but I would have felt like that would have been a little bit more tamed in that situation. But that's just
Or not even just that, but like it's a movie set. There's no security, cops. Like,
that was.
How did it get to that? How did it get to that point?
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was definitely
That's
like
what
trying to force.
makes me think that the alien was involved. Man. There was some alien activity.
All the
going
people,
on.
maybe all the people were abducted.
Some aliens there, man.
Maybe.
Well, also here. So it was a flashback. It was a memory, right? So how accurate is his memory of the entire situation?
That's a good point. Yeah, we could have because we didn't even get to hear his I can't remember the character's name, but we didn't even get to hear her perspective. The young lady that survived after that tragic accident.
Yeah. Actually, that is. I'll give you that. That is one thing I would have wanted a little bit more of was like her. And I like kind of understand what they were trying to do. Like he was trying to like show her like, hey, look, I'm gonna make it so like what happened to us doesn't happen again, and literally the same thing happens again. And it was just kind of really tragic. But yeah, I do. I'll give you that. Yeah, I definitely would have liked a little bit more from her if they were gonna bring her into.
That character was thrown in there, and then not even just that, but a little bit more of the psyche of Stephen Young, because he went through all of this tragedy. Like what made him get to the point that he's willing to basically
revisit
not even just that, but I'm talking about get to the point that he's willing to bring the lambs to the slaughter, more or less. Like he knows what he's doing. Like he's basically sacrificing these people for this alien creature. Like what is going on in his mind that is making him essentially be a murderer? Like, especially considering the tragedy that he went through, the loss, and and everything like that. Like, now you're becoming a whole ass murderer. Like, what made you flip the switch like that?
And quick question: that display of the act and pony alien show, are we assuming that happened multiple times, or that was the first act, the first time they ever had that in front of a live audience, as far as the alien demonstration?
No, because remember, there was a moment in the beginning where OJ was looking for a ghost or something like that, and he heard it off in the distance, and he didn't know what it was. Like you heard Stephen Young's character say, he was talking, but like, and you saw like the light show and everything like that. He's like, you're gonna change your life or whatever, and so like he was doing it multiple times.
Yeah, and then that time it backfired on him. Yeah.
So I guess
because he even mentioned like in the when everything backfired, he was like, oh, it's kind of early. This never happened before. So like he's done it multiple times.
So I guess the whole hype train of it, did no one just not believe when people would say, man, there's this act in California where there's did people not ever gravitate?
People had
people
had to see it in order.
They died. Everybody died. So there is no hype train because they all got stuck. They got hyped up in the alien.
No, I'm saying if he's done it multiple times, like those people that saw it, that activity take place, they never word of mouth got out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The people. Well, you mean the people that were in the audience?
Yeah.
So you think he was killing?
That's what I'm saying.
Killing the audience
people that
every
were
time.
He was killing the audience every time. So there is no word of mouth.
Gotcha.
Oh, interesting. See,
that's right. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
at least that's what I got from it. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong.
No, I mean, I think that's definitely a valid. And I considered that too, but then also I was like, I don't think when we saw it the first time we heard anything more than the horse scream. Like I just heard the horse scream. I didn't hear like people screaming.
Audience,
which is why I didn't think that the people got sucked up. But I mean, I definitely considered that as like that he was basically sacrificing these people to like the aliens and whatnot. But then that would just kind of seem weirdly out of character for him too. So
that side of him being so vicious and ruthless.
Yeah. Like he wanted to control he wanted to like bring the alien to his like level and like control it, but not necessarily like.
So I mean, so that could be a thing. So if he wasn't killing the people and he was only killing the horses, you would think there would be more word of mouth.
Right.
Especially since everybody has a camera phone. Like, where?
Well, was that? And maybe I'm wrong about this, but was there not something where they said like you don't use you can't take pictures?
The wife
of this
said that before they die, but we know when the alien comes, your phone doesn't even it shuts down any.
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, there's that element of it too. So people couldn't even get a picture. So it was like people had to come see it in order to believe that it happened. Yeah. That kind of like dangerous.
Okay,
yeah.
So maybe he wasn't a murderer.
Well, but he also could be, because he had that alien thing on the back of his shirt. So it was like maybe he was like working with them or something.
And I mean, and I'll tell Peter will tell you right. He is a killer.
I mean, he's still killing horses. Yeah, I was gonna say he's still
horses. It's not much better. No, it's not much better. Yeah.
Which I think another theme is how we treat we talked about how you treat animals and animal cruelty, and how do we kind of dismissive of it all, of kind of how people treat animals and use them as props and toys and food and clothes.
Depending on the animal, don't be on the internet killing a dog, or the documentary "Don't Fuck with Cats." Nobody cares if you get rid of a pig, even though pigs are smarter than cats and dogs. But here we're like, no, give me some bacon. Like,
but wrapping up the discussion here, which again, I appreciate you both joining me. And again, guys, for watching this discussion, like, share, comment. Griff's information's in the description, as well as Michael's. Overall ending of the film, how we wrap up. And again, I've seen some word out there just for people that have seen it. The whole silhouette of her brother surviving, was it really him? Did he die? Was it the callback of the first black man on the horse? Did you guys interpret that particular scene in a certain way, that Dane Kaluuya did survive, or it was just kind of?
I mean, it was definitely a callback, but I still think he survived. Even though I was asking my friend that, I was like, how he lived? Like, the alien was literally like over, sticking his head right over him. Like, I needed a scene like to see how he survived, but like I definitely think it was him. I'm glad. Black people living at the end of a thriller.
Well, that's the thing. You expect him. Yeah, you expect him to die because of tropes, and he doesn't. And he's. It's kind of like what happens with Hooper in Jaws. It's like you think Hooper's dead because of the shark. He has the encounter with the shark, and he winds up surviving in the end. I like how that. I like how the whole like the first moving picture of the black man on the horse, like how that kind of comes full circle in like a new context, right? It's like the first one is like the very like crude and like the original. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, right there. Yep, and it's like this is the new version of it, right? Like it's like kind of like taking the old and making something new, and with like your own kind of flavor to it. It's I don't know. I love that. It was great.
Yeah, I'm the third act definitely was exhilarating. It was a little, besides the whole, I thought it was funny, the TMZ angle of it all, and it kind of, Angel going
Did you ever find out who it was?
No, man, I couldn't find it. It's not. There's no like specific like credit for it. Like there's a couple of people that it could be, but
because I'm like, I know that voice.
It'll be once after probably Monday morning, we'll see the actor come out, and it'll be like, I don't know, Brad Pitt or something.
Right. Like someone crazy, like
Tom Cruise.
We'll
see who's the man behind the mask.
Letterboxd.
But final thoughts, starting with you, Mike. Just again, I know you might not revisit again. Who knows? You might find yourself watching it one day from like, Mike, let's watch Nope, and then maybe 6 months from, because you did see it back to back. Sometimes when you see a film,
I'll be like, nope,
so consistently, it's just like, I need a break from this. But just kind of final thoughts, man. Again, I know your reviews on your channel now, but just overall, and if you have any particular rankings, I know you said this is weakest, so I assume that's your third on the list. But I guess to take that question out and pose in, what do you want to see next from Jordan Peele after you share your thoughts overall?
Final thoughts, like I said, even though I think it's the weakest, I definitely still think it's worth seeing on the biggest screen. Definitely see it in IMAX. If you're immunocompromised, whatever, then wait till it comes out on demand. But if you can, go to the theater and an IMAX theater, specifically see it in IMAX. Try to watch it twice, because you're definitely gonna have questions the first time, like I did. But it's definitely an experience worth watching, a spectacle of it all, or even just to be part of the conversation, to try to figure out like, what the hell was this movie about? So with that, I still think the movie is worth watching. Even with the question that you have, it was still a fun ride. And Jordan Peele is still a great director. So, that's really all I got to say about that. As far as his next movie that I would like to
Body
see,
invasion, slasher, tethered, people on the ground,
I don't know.
alien.
I want to see him do like a vampire werewolf type,
creature,
creature.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Like, give me some black vampires, some black werewolves, black witches. I want all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would be really interesting, man. Same question for you, Griff. Just kind of final thoughts, and if you had I think you've alluded to it that this is probably your favorite out of the three. And if so, kind of, I guess, what is your expectations for? It seems like every 2017, 2019, 2022 with the pandemic. So 2 years from now, we can maybe imagine to get in theaters again to see the next Jordan Peele film.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's kind of following in the footsteps of the greats, right? Like the Spielbergs, Nolans, those kind of filmmakers, where it's like when you see his name attached to a film, it's going to draw in a crowd, and so it's like I'm getting equally as excited for like his next films as I am like any of their films, and so it's really cool to see like this explosion, this massive rise of a filmmaker like this, of just like his caliber. It's exceptional. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, he's 3 for 3. Like even like for me, he's 3 for 3, and I'm just like really stoked to see what he does next. And yeah, this one is my personal favorite. Is probably the one I can see myself rewatching the most, I think, specifically for the spectacle and just like how much I enjoy certain set pieces in it. But yeah, in terms of what I want to see from him next, I don't even know. Like, because it's not like I would have said, I really want to see gargoyles.
Yeah.
Gargoyles.
He was rumored for that for a while. That and Akira and all that stuff.
Keith Davis right there.
Dude, right? Yeah, I mean, like, first of all, the Akira reference in this was fucking
with the
sick.
bicycle at the end. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, look, I want him to keep more. I want him to keep making original stuff. I don't want him to necessarily get sucked into franchise filmmaking, which I think is. Yeah, no.
They're gonna try to suck him up.
Of course, they've already been knocking on his door, and I'm pretty sure he's said no.
I don't think he's interested. Yeah, there's no way. Like, like, why would you waste your time in like a sandbox that's gonna constrict you? When you could be making stuff that is like the antithesis to that, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, stuff. I like, again, more original projects, because I think that's what really excites people. Stuff that's like unexpected, because I think what I've learned to kind of expect from him is to expect the unexpected. I have no idea what I'm going to get. Like, I didn't expect we were going to get an alien movie like this, but lo and behold, we got it, and I'm like all in on it. So yeah, man, whatever he's feeling, I am 100% down for.
I'm curious if he's going to go bigger or if he's going to scale it back, his next film. Because I don't know, once you have all those tools at your disposal, it's pretty hard to put them back in the toolbox, as far as all the tools and tricks and getting IMAX camera shooting your film. So I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you all as far as expectations. I don't know what to expect from him next, and that's pretty exciting for any director, right?
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you all. I don't think I would ever want to be seeing Jordan Peele on the next marquee for a Marvel film. Or, I mean, it'll probably be pretty cool, really interesting, but I'm much more excited for originality.
I mean, he may surprise us and not even do a horror movie or thriller next time.
Yeah, I mean,
Jordan Peele movie, a comedy, or
Keanu Part 2 is
a drama.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
A Jordan Peele rom-com.
Yeah. A rom-com horror. I think, because there was an interview I saw yesterday. I think he said he has a lot more horror stories he wants to tell, but it will be interesting to see if he ever does. Again, the whole box analogy, if he will break himself out of that box and give us a straight action film or a straight sci-fi film, or again, to Mike's point, a romance, or a straight drama. It'll be interesting to see him tackle those genres. But I'm staying horror.
Horror is my favorite genre. Like I said, like in terms of like Black people leading in horror in mainstream movies, it's like non-existent for the most part. So like, even though there's plenty of Black people writing horror stories, it's just not getting told in the mainstream. So if he wants to stay in horror, I'm for it.
Same here.
Put me in the next. I know he's watching the stream because Elliot's famous. So Jordan Peele, I'm looking directly at the camera. Put me in the next movie.
Hire this man. Hire him. I'm I'm really more than happy that you all were able to join me tonight to talk about this film. Of course, there's many more things to digest, especially after when I see it again. It's gonna probably, oh, okay, yes, and I was right. There was aliens involved with Gordy, and all that good stuff. But Griff, Mike, man, it's always a pleasure. We got to do it again. I don't know what's the next. It's gonna be a while before we get like a next big thing. I mean, we got Bullet Train.
She-Hulk is next month.
Yes, She-Hulk, Andor.
Andor's next month
Halloween.
too.
Yeah, Andor starts next month.
I don't know if you guys are Halloween fans. You know, to stick to the theme of horror. I don't know if there's
Halloween.
Michael Myers
I hated Halloween Kills or whatever it was called. That shit was trash. So I'm hoping Halloween Ends is better.
That trailer wasn't promising though.
Really?
After Doctor Strange, I stopped watching trailers.
It wasn't even really a trailer. It was like more of it's like half of a scene.
Showing too much.
It's another killer on the loose, looks like. But anyway, we can talk for hours about horror, comedy, you name it. But I'm gonna let these gentlemen get back to their thing. I know Griffin's getting ready for Comic-Con. Michael's about to make the next big TikTok video, YouTube sensation, drop some knowledge on the fine folks out there. So I'm gonna let them get back to their lives. But starting with you, Mike.
I don't know about all that. I'm looking on my phone for Uber Eats. I'm like, what do I want to eat?
Man, same. I'm about to do that. Yeah, straight up.
I'm like, do I want some halal guys or like, what do I want?
Yeah.
Well, before you get your eat on, Mike, why don't you let the fine folks at home know where they can find your content? Again, I'm going to probably put this up Friday. So as far as looking into the future here, what is the next bit of content that you have out there for the folks?
So, yeah, guys, you can find me all over the socials as Black Gay Comic Geek, except for Twitter, it's B Gay Comic Geek, because I guess Black Gay Comic Geek was too long that they wouldn't allow me on there. But, yeah, as far as what's next, honestly, I don't even know. I was just thinking that. I was like, what am I releasing next? I still haven't released my review for the Black Phone because I'm fucking lazy. So I need to do that. I'm eventually gonna do Stranger Things Volume 2 live. I'm waiting for Frankie to come back from LA so she could join me. And then also eventually I will be doing my own live for Nope. So be on the lookout for that. And follow me on TikTok for my general commentary on just gay shit. That's basically what I talk about on my TikTok. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. And also, Billy Porter movie, like a trans coming of age story, is coming out on Amazon Prime.
Is that the one he directed?
Yeah, that's the one he directed. It's called Anything's Possible. So I'll be reviewing that. So
awesome.
It's pretty much
very cool.
It's pretty much it.
Hey, listen, man, as you all saw through this display, he's been on the channel multiple times, and he'll be back again because I love interacting with him. Links in the bio, his Instagram, his Twitter, his TikTok, his YouTube, all that fun stuff. Black Gay Comic Geek, check him out. You won't be disappointed because the man's always dropping knowledge. So, Griff, man, it's a pleasure, man. Again, I know you're going to be out in Comic-Con, and I can't wait to DM you and be like, Henry Cavill's back as Superman.
Yeah, well, we all did it. We're all hoping for that, but I don't know. I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath on that one.
You can't expect any good things with them. But Griff, man, why don't you let the people at home know what to expect on the Film Speak, where they can find you, and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, so by the time this video's up, I'll probably have a video essay out on The Gray Man, kind of breaking down my thoughts on that, on like the Russo brothers as filmmakers and all that stuff. You know me, I love my spy shit, so like that's me in my element, going through it all. And then after that, I'll definitely have like a deeper dive video essay on Nope, probably next week at some point. Got to try and somehow gather my thoughts in a cohesive manner and get a script together for that. But yeah, you'll have that to look forward to next week, and then yeah, that's what I got coming up. You can follow me on Twitter at Griff Schiller. I'm gonna, like Elliot alluded to, I'm gonna be at Comic-Con. So if you're interested in like the breaking news on everything that's kind of happening there, I'm gonna be tweeting a lot. So follow me over there to get the updates. And if you want to follow Film Speak in general, you can head on over to the YouTube channel Film Speak, or you can head on over to the Twitter at _Film Speak, and there'll be all sorts of updates and stuff there.
Awesome. I can't wait to dive deep into the next video essay that Griff's going to have, the next bit of comic book information that Michael, because he reads comics all the time. I need to get back in the comic game, Mike, because there's some stuff you be showing, especially about werewolves and vampires. Like, man, this stuff, the comic world is just so awesome. I need to get back into it. But again, guys.
I'm starting to pick up more like black horror comics. I want to release like my favorite black horror comics that are out right now. Well, speaking of, if you are a fan of like, because I mentioned black vampires, do I have it in front of me? No, I don't have it in front of me. But it's been out for a while. But like volume 1 and 2 and 3, Rodney Barnes' Philadelphia is out. Definitely pick it up. They actually got picked up to be released on I don't think they said what network, or maybe they did, but it basically is going to be a television series. So if you want to get on the know with that, definitely pick up Philadelphia. It's not your typical vampire trope. Like, they're not dying from sunlight and garlic and all of that. And then there's a lot of, there's a lot of crime and political elements and, things with that. So definitely get you Philadelphia and be on the lookout for the show. Oh, also Interview with the Vampire. That's coming out next month. So I'm going to be reviewing that too.
Yeah.
Not too. Is that on AMC?
Oh, no, I'm very curious about, like, especially with like making Louis Delac black. I don't like, I've read the book. Like, I love like vampires is how I got into fantasy. Like, that was my first creature love. And so like Louis was a slave owner. Like, how you make, and then not even just the fact that he was a slave owner, but you completely changed I'm about to go on like a whole tangent, but you completely changed the dynamics between Louis and Lestat by making him black, especially in the 1700s. Because like the point of it was like Louis had the wealth. And Lestat was just an immortal vampire, but Louis was still kind of had a leg up on Lestat, though. So like when they're going to all of these fancy parties and things like that, I'm like, how is that going to happen with him being black? Like, that's not. So I'm curious of what they're going to do with that. But real quick, I just wanted to say, Griffin, now that you mentioned your film essay, I've always been curious to like watch your process of making these films.
We need that behind the scenes video.
Yeah, like I need a full behind the scenes. First of all, I'll be like, how the fuck did he be getting these shots? Like, he's
the cinematographer of the film. He gets the perfect shots.
And then I'm just like, I just want to watch, because I'm like, I feel like this is a lot of edit. Like,
mesmerizing.
Oh, dude,
I mean, like, shoot myself.
Like, it's a like I don't do it alone. Like, obviously I couldn't. I mean, I can, and I have before, but like it's way easier to collaborate with like a small like team of people. Like, it's me, like the ideas and like the scripts and everything and what I'm trying to get at comes from me, and then like I work with an editor to piece it all together, and then I also have a friend that I co-write with, so that I'm like, I'm not like going insane basically all the time trying to be, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. I mean, like it's not as hectic as it would seem, like I have like good people helping me out, which is good.
See, ladies and gentlemen, that's what happens. That's what happens when you're famous. You get to have a whole team.
There you go.
And not do things by yourself.
Yeah, there you go. See, I'm a fraud. There you go. You heard it here first, folks.
No, not at all. Man, having a team makes you official.
Well, I guess is one way of looking at it.
Well, whether it's his next video essay or whether it's the next comic breakdown, Michael and Griff's information can be found in the description of this video, guys. I am very excited to read the comments, see how people come out of this film, see what it does for the box office, see if it has staying power, see if it has that impact that his previous two films had. Very excited to see where this film goes, and more excited to see these two gentlemen in the future talking about the next big project that he has. So with all that being said, like, shares, comments, all that fun stuff, subscribe, you know the deal. You all have a great day. You stay safe out there. And again, leave your thoughts in the comments. Did Nope, did it work for you or did it not? Let's talk about it in the comments. Again, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.